Hey everyone, today I want to talk about the story in Genesis about the nakedness of Noah. Shalom everybody, and welcome to Beit Tefillah. This is another video I put together because I received quite a few questions about this subject. It's not as black and white as comparing the Tanakh to the New Testament as in my previous videos, but I want to walk through this a little bit and talk about it today. I'm sure we all recall the following story of Noah's son Ham seeing his father's nakedness right after the flood occurred, as we can read about in Genesis chapter 9, 20-23. And Noah, a man of the soil, began and planted a vineyard. And he drank of the wine and was drunk and became uncovered in his tent. And Ham, the father of Kanan, saw the nakedness of his father and told his two brothers outside. So Shem and Japheth took a garment, laid it on both their shoulders, and went backwards and covered the nakedness of their father, but their faces were turned away, and they did not see their father's nakedness. Now, when Ham saw the nakedness of his father, my current theory is that there's more to it than just seeing his dad without clothes on. I believe what actually happened is far more serious. Let's read a passage from the Torah in Leviticus 18, 6-7. No one is to approach any one of his own flesh to uncover his nakedness. I am Yehovah. The nakedness of your father or the nakedness of your mother you do not uncover. So there it is, right? Well, maybe not. Let's read the following verse in Leviticus 18:8. The nakedness of your father's wife you do not uncover. It is your father's nakedness. And let's read something else that not everyone seems to pick up on. Genesis 9:18-25. And the sons of Noah who went out of the ark were Shem and Ham and Japheth. And Ham was the father of Canaan. Some people say Kanan. That's like an anglicized way to say it. These three were the sons of Noah, and all the earth was overspread from them. And Noah, a man of the soil, began to be a husbandman, and he planted a vineyard. And he drank of the wine and was drunk and became uncovered in his tent. And Ham, the father of Canaan, saw the nakedness of his father and told his two brothers outside. So Shem and Japheth took a garment, laid it on their shoulders, and went backwards and covered the nakedness of their father. But their faces were turned away, and they did not see their father's nakedness. And Noah awoke from his wine and knew what his younger son had done to him. And he said, Cursed is Canaan, let him become a servant of servants to his brothers. Now, did you notice when it mentioned Ham in there a couple of times that it also mentions Ham's son Canaan in the same sentence? Why is that? It doesn't mention Shem or Japheth's sons, just one of Ham's sons. Doesn't that seem a bit odd to you? Clearly, Shem had sons, as we can read in Genesis 10:22. And the children of Shem, Elam, Ashur, Arphaxad, and Lud, and Aram. And Japheth's sons we can read about in Genesis 10:2. And the sons of Japheth, Gomer and Magog and Madai and Javan and Tubal and Meshech and Tiras. And Ham had more than one son, as we can read in Genesis 10:6. And the sons of Ham are Cush and Mitzrayim and Phut and Canaan. Let's hear that first part again in Genesis 9:18-22. And the sons of Noah who went out of the ark were Shem and Ham and Japheth. And Ham was the father of Canaan. These three were the sons of Noah, and all the earth was overspread from them. And Noah, a man of the soil, began and planted a vineyard. And he drank of the wine and was drunk and became uncovered in his tent. And Ham, the father of Canaan, the naked, saw the nakedness of his father and told his two brothers outside. Let's also take note that the text doesn't mention earlier in Genesis that Noah's wife was the mother of Shem, Ham, or Japheth. So why would Noah curse his future grandson Canaan if Noah's son Ham, who is Canaan's father, was the one who sinned? I'm going to take a side road for a minute and examine something, and then we're going to swing back to the topic of this video. Many talk about God starting over after he caused the great flood. So did he? Let's look at some striking similarities to when God first created the earth and then when God started over after the flood. In Genesis chapter 1, the water was covering the earth when God begins creation. And in Genesis chapter 7, the water covers the earth for months before receding. In chapter 1, God made the water recede and the dry land appeared. In chapter 8, God made the water recede and the dry land appeared. In chapter 2, Adam is in harmony with God for being obedient, and in chapter 9, Noah is in harmony with God from being obedient. In chapter 1, God told Adam to be fruitful, multiply, and fill the earth, and in chapter 9, God told Noah to be fruitful, multiply, and fill the earth. In chapter 3, Adam and Eve eat the forbidden fruit, and in chapter 9, Noah drank way too much of the fruit of his vineyard. In chapter 3, Adam and Eve realized that they're naked. In chapter 9, Ham realized that Noah was drunk, asleep, and naked in his tent. In chapter 3, God covered Adam and Eve with animal skins to hide their nakedness, and in chapter 9, Noah's sons, Shem and Japheth, covered their father Noah with a garment to hide his nakedness. In chapter 3, God cursed the serpent after Adam and Eve's sin, and in chapter 9, Noah curses Ham's son Kanan after realizing what Ham had done. So why was Kanan cursed and not Ham himself? I mean, Ham was the one who uncovered his father's nakedness, not Kanan. He didn't have anything to do with it. Well, the Bible doesn't come out and say it, but it seems logical to me that it was because Noah was shamed by his son Ham. So Noah cursed Kanan so that Ham is going to be shamed by his son. Adam sinned against God and his seed suffered because of it, and Ham sinned against his father Noah and his seed suffered because of it. Something similar happened with Jacob and his son Reuben, and we can hear about that in Genesis 49, 3-4. Reuben, you are my firstborn, my power, and the beginning of my strength, the excellency of exaltation and the excellency of power. Boiling like water, you do not excel, because you went up to your father's bed, and then you defiled it. You know how the scriptures are in repeating cycles, and the wisdom of Solomon says in Ecclesiastes 1-9, what has been is what shall be, and what has been done is what shall be done, and there is no new matter under the sun. So there you go. Ham had some kind of improper sexual behavior with his father. It may have been something just as simple as looking or uncovering, which would be a sin, but even in context, you cannot read it to rule out other sexual sin that might fall under the heading of uncovering nakedness. A simple act of being naked in a small space they lived in might have been unavoidable, especially in tiny rooms or tents or the dwellings that they lived in way back in those days. I mean, you're all in close quarters. How could it not happen? The nakedness of their father is a Hebrew idiom and was quite possibly Ham performing a sex act with his father's wife, who may not have been his own mother. Ham's brothers Shem and Japheth took a blanket and turned their heads as they went in to cover their father's wife after she had been defiled by Ham. Ham's brothers not uncovering their father's nakedness means they didn't partake in the sin of uncovering it. When Adam and Eve were covered with animal skins by God, we learned that covering nakedness is merciful and righteous. Psalm 32 verse 1, blessed is he whose transgression is forgiven, whose sin is covered. Ham most likely had incest with Noah's wife, and the product of that was his son Kanan. Notice that in the scriptural narrative that we learned of Canaan's name before he was even born. His name is from Strong's H3667, and it means humiliated. Kanan may have been conceived while Noah and his wife were both drunk. We don't know. But if Ham did commit incest with Noah's wife, perhaps his brothers were being kind-hearted and at least covering that up. Okay? Once again in Genesis 9:23, Shem and Japheth took a garment, laid it on both their shoulders, and went backward and covered the nakedness of their father, but their faces were turned away, and they did not see their father's nakedness. This is along the lines of the question of why did God reject Cain's sacrifice? We're just not told. If we were supposed to know, it would have been in the text, and it's not, because maybe that's not the point. I think the takeaway of this story is that if Ham would have just looked upon his dad naked, the curse would not have been placed on his son Kanan. And if Kanan was a legitimate son of Ham's wife, why would Kanan have been cursed? What on earth, besides being related to his grandfather Noah, would Noah have been mad at and have to deal with the nakedness of Noah? It doesn't make any sense. It's food for thought. You know, I didn't come up with a scenario. There's other people talking about it. There's other videos out there on it. But it's the one I believe to be the correct interpretation of Genesis 9:22. The nakedness of Noah, more than likely, I believe, resulted in the patriarch of the people of the land of Canaan. The people of Sodom and Gomorrah are also descendants of Canaan. And it's also interesting to note that Nimrod, who was the mighty hunter before the Lord, and the people of the Tower of Babel also come from the lineage of Ham. Well, that's all I have for today. I hope this video blessed you, and please give it a thumbs up and sub to our channel if you haven't done so yet. Shout out and shalom to all who are Yisra'el and scattered worldwide in the dispersion. Everybody be blessed and have a wonderful day.